Hello. You know, over the centuries, there have been many spiritually inspired and gifted people sent into this world. Most of them have been smeared, mocked, scorned, some even put to death. I came into this world in 1954. I have a message for all people. I have a message for you. As you know, I have spoken with those in the spirit world, that is, those who have passed over from this world into the next. I have communicated, I have seen, heard, felt from spirit all of my life. At this time, we think about Easter, perhaps. And I presume most of you know the Easter story. Although, I have to tell you, I asked my granddaughter yesterday, tell me what happened on Good Friday. And she said, Lucy Beale was killed on EastEnders. There we are. But at Easter, Jesus, along with his followers, were making their way to Jerusalem for the feast of the Passover, a Jewish celebration. And of course, crowds gathered around Jesus to hear his words. And he spoke to all the people, teaching them about God, the kingdom of heaven, eternal life. And once the crowds had dispersed, Jesus called together his followers, and he asked them this question: who do the people say that I am? And the disciples replied, some say you're John the Baptist, others that you are Elijah, having another earthly life. Others say you are a prophet sent from God. And Jesus said, and who do you say that I am? And Peter replied, I say you are the Messiah. You are here in this world, sent by God to teach people. That's right, Jesus said, but most importantly, I say to you now, I say to all of you, do not say this to anyone. Do not tell anyone who you think I am or what I have to say. He strictly told the disciples not to say anything about him. If people want to know, they will listen to his words. If people don't want to know, then they won't. But it is for the people to decide, not for you to tell people what you think about me. But of course, one of them in particular, Judas, thought he knew best. He wanted to tell people who he thought Jesus was. He wanted all people, especially the religious leaders, to understand. Even though Jesus had strictly told them not to say anything, he thought he knew best. Probably, as all people are influenced by the devil. And he decided that he wanted Jesus before the religious leaders, the high priest, so that they could understand who he is and proclaim him as the Messiah. And he went about organizing this. You see, it wasn't for him to decide what's best. But there we are, that's what he did. We all know the outcome of that. Jesus was put before the high priest and the religious leaders, who Jesus had upset many times before by saying that they are the blind leading the blind. They didn't know the way, so they prevented other people from finding out. Not much has changed, I'm afraid, over 2,000 years. Religious leaders today generally haven't got a clue. You ask them. Ask the vicar, the priest, the leader of your church. Ask them these questions. What happens when you die? Does everyone live on immediately after death? Where do good people go and where do bad people go and where do most people who are somewhere in between go? Ask them these questions and they haven't got a clue. Jesus, as we know, was put to death. But before then, on the way to Jerusalem, if you read in the Bible, you will notice that Jesus walked up a hill, and there the disciples saw him talking with Elijah and Moses, who of course had been dead many, many years. But he was speaking with them. After Jesus' death, and on what we now call Easter Sunday, his resurrection, he showed himself. And those people he showed himself to went back to the rest of the disciples and said, I've seen Jesus. He's risen from the dead. And they didn't believe it. One day, in a locked room with all the doors and windows locked because the disciples were scared of any repercussions, Jesus appeared to them. And he said, look at my hands where the nails have been. Look at my side where the spear pierced my body. And they were in amazement. You see, Jesus showed himself exactly as he was before his passing. When I see people in spirit, they show themselves to me. I may say to you, I can see a gentleman with you, he's well over 6 feet tall, wears a trilby hat, he's got a walking stick, he's smoking a pipe. And you'll say, oh, that's my granddad. Because he shows himself for recognition purposes exactly as he was before he passed. Jesus showed himself to many people after his passing. You see, life is eternal, and this is what Jesus wanted to prove. And what I know is true, life goes on forever. It just very much depends, of course, on how you live this earthly life as to where you will find yourself in the next life. You can read all about my teachings in my books, Stairway to Heaven, and my latest book, The Other Side, A Psychic Story. If you wish to understand what I'm saying, read these books. But what we don't want is people deciding that they know best. They want to go out and say all these things. I hate being misquoted. That's why I wrote the books. If you want to understand and know what I have to say, it's all there. Many people, of course, do email me, send me messages via my webpage, and I do try to answer as many of these as I can. So if you have a query, get in touch. That's all I have to say for now. Next time I will talk more about psychic gifts, life after death, what happens when you pass over. But until then, bye for now.